From the News and Current Affairs Department at the Blaze Communications Network Incorporated, welcome to News Point. 45 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of our world. On today, Tuesday, December 2, 2025, my name is Oliver McIntosh, presenting on today's presentation of the program. In the headlines, President Joseph Boakai emphasizes his administration unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and the fight against corruption. Former Vice President Joe Howard Taylor calls for increased support to women in politics across the sub-region, urges ECOWAS to take more targeted actions to advance female leadership. River G County Senator Janetta Sengwe accuses the Ministry of Internal Affairs of unlawfully reducing the salaries of existing local government officials to create room for newly appointed personnel. And away from home, Russian President Vladimir Putin meets U.S. enforced Steve Witkoff in Moscow for talks on the draft peace plan, according to the BBC. These the news bulletins post or package on today's presentation of the program. But first, Stephen Talu is seated with the news bulletin. Stephen, good evening.
Good evening, Oliver. President Joseph Walker has emphasized his administration's unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and fighting corruption, describing these pillars as essential to the country's stability and progress. Speaking Tuesday, December 2, at a cabinet retreat in Tottenham, Bama County, President Walker said every action taken by the government must contribute positively to national development. President Boakai noted that his administration has already demonstrated its seriousness in tackling corruption through recent government actions. He further disclosed that issues raised in the National Audit Report have been forwarded to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission for swift investigation and resolution. Meanwhile, the Liberian leader outlines several areas under review, including ongoing concerns surrounding a football academy in Ghana and Nigeria. It also pointed to persistent land-related challenges and recommended the relocation of the fire station and emphasizing the need to accelerate road construction to improve connectivity. Former Vice President Joe Howard Taylor is calling for increased support to women in politics across the sub-region, urging ECOWAS to take more targeted actions to advance a female leadership. Speaking Tuesday during the ECOWAS a Female Parliamentarians Association event in Abuja, Nigeria, Madam Howard Taylor said women across Africa continue to face significant barriers in accessing political power and sustaining leadership roles. She stressed the need for ECOWAS member states to build stronger leadership partnerships for women, including institutionalizing membership programs to help younger women understand and develop leadership skills. According to the former Vice President, ECOWAS mandates a minimum of 30% female representation from each member state to the regional parliament. However, she lamented that many countries have yet to meet this requirement. Madam Taylor Madam Halawa Taylor recommended that ECOWAS intensify efforts to strengthen and harmonize gender equality policies within national legislatures across the region. River G County Senator Janito Segbe has accused the Ministry of Internal Affairs of unlawfully reducing the salaries of existing local government officials to create room for newly appointed personnel. Speaking Tuesday, December 2, during the Senate regular sitting, Senator Segbe argued that the reported payroll adjustments violate established employment procedures on the Civil Service Agency. He stressed that no official should be placed on the government payroll without first obtaining a personal identification number, a key requirement in the hiring process. Senator Sigby described the alleged salary cuts as a clear breach of administrative policy and an infringement on the rights of officials who were legally employed. The River County lawmaker disclosed that he wrote the Ministry of Internal Affairs months ago when the complaints first surfaced, but the ministry has yet to respond or take correction corrective actions. Senator Sigby is calling on the Senate Committee on Internal Affairs to immediately summon the Minister of Internal Affairs to provide clarity and address what he terms a troubling and unfair payroll practice affecting local officials across the country. The political leader of the Liberian National Union, Dr. Clarence Maniba, has intensified his criticism of the proposed 2026 national budget, which stands at US dollars 1.2 billion. In an interview with reporters recently, Dr. Malema warned that Liberia will remain trapped in poverty unless the government urgently shifts its spending priorities toward human development and economic transformation. According to him, 90% of the proposed budget is allocated to recurrent expenditure, leaving only about 10% for capital projects, emphasizing that prioritizing government spending over investment in teachers, nurses, farmers, and security officers will hinder the nation's progress. Dr. Manuba also highlighted a key detail he believes many citizens have overlooked, like the increase of the goods and services tax from 12% to 13%, stressing that this will make life more difficult for ordinary Liberians. He noted that the purpose of the national budget is to improve the lives of citizens and not burden them further. That Moneba, however, appealed to President Joseph Boakai and his administration to revise the budget, insisting that it is not the transformation that will rescue Liberia, but building a new Liberia where the national budget truly reflects the country's priorities. The Solidarity and Trust for a New Day says its planned nationwide protest scheduled for December 17 is irreversible and will go ahead as announced, declaring that the action will not be postponed or cancelled under any circumstances. State Chairperson Malawa Molu made its statement Tuesday, December 2, during the press conference at the organization's headquarters in Kongatown. According to him, the protest held on the team lead or leave. Enough is in fulfillment of commitment made to the Liberian people after the July 17 mass demonstration. Molu stressed that the group is running to the streets as a result of the government's alleged failure to address critical concerns outlined in their earlier petition, including the lack of basic social services, rising crime, and growing cases of public police brutality. He revealed that thousands of Liberians are expected to assemble at the executive mansion on Capitol Hill to demand accountability and improved living conditions. Molu emphasized that the upcoming demonstration will remain peaceful but firm, noting that the movement is determined to hold the government accountable for what he called its failure to meet the needs of ordinary citizens. Monserrato County Senator Abraham Darius Dillon has clarified that the Liberian Senate is in no violation of the law by holding its own budget hearings as separate from the House of Representatives. Speaking Tuesday at a press conference in Monrovia, Senator Dillon explained that while the legislature traditionally conducts joint budget hearings to speed up the approval process, there is no legal requirement mandating that both chambers must always hear the national budgets together. Senator Dillon stressed that the Senate is operating fully within the bounds of legislative authority, rejecting accusations that the upper chamber's actions constitute procedural violations. He clarified that the House of Representatives began its hearings before the Senate, and both bodies already agreed on how to coordinate presentations from the Ministry of Finance and other government agencies. Senator Dillon emphasized that the national budget as a financial bill constitutionally begins in the House of Representatives, which has original jurisdiction over revenue measures. However, he stressed that this does not give the House exclusive authority over the budget process, revealing that the only constitutional limitation placed on the Senate is that it cannot pass the national budget before the House of Representatives. The National AIDS Commission of Liberia has commended Liberians for embracing HIV testing exercises across the country following 2 years of a low turnout. Speaking on a local radio on Monday, the Commissioner's head of communications, Gabe T. Clark, has said the institution is overwhelmed and joyful over the stronger participation of Liberians, especially younger people whom are throwing out in large number of Bisha HIV testing events in Monrovia. Class said the Commission's awareness and messages are reaching communities nationwide, helping citizens understand the importance of knowing the HIV status. She further disclosed that the National AIDS Commission will continue on voluntary testing across various parts of the country during holidays, stressing that the institution will not sit and allow HIV to spread rapidly and endanger the lives of citizens. Liberia's permanent representative to the International Maritime Organization, Robert Gbade, says Liberia's re-election to the IMO Council places the country front and center of global maritime diplomacy. Liberia has been re-elected to Category A of the IMO Council, the highest title of membership among the 40-member governing body for the 2026 to 2017. The vote was held during the 34th session of the IMO Assembly from November 24 to December 3, 2025 in London, where Liberia secured 141 votes. Speaking via mobile from London, Ambassador Bade expressed gratitude to all member states that supported Liberia's bid. He said the victory reflects global confidence in Liberia's maritime administration and its longer standing history as one of the world's leading ship registries. Ambassador Bade emphasized that Liberia will continue to advance international maritime safety, security, environment protection, capacity building initiatives that strengthen global shipping standards. A group calling itself Residents Against the Legislative Abandonment in District Number 60, Mosruado County, is demanding the resignation of Representative Dixon Sibo from the House of Representatives. The group's spokesman, Kevin Batua, alleged that Representative Sibo has been overwhelmed by the ongoing as some case involving him and others are making him unable to properly attend to matters concerning the district. Speaking to reporters on Monday, Batua stated that since the indictment of Representative Sibu, he has rarely been seen engaging with or addressing issues affecting residents of District Number 16. He added that given the circumstances, the lawmaker should step down and focus on his legal battles, noting it is now clear that he has no time or energy to dedicate to the district. And away from whom Russian President Vladimir Putin is putting U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law and advisor Jared Kushner in Moscow for talks on the drafted peace plan. Putin alleged said Europe's demands for the end of the war in Ukraine are not acceptable. Putin has shown little desire for compromise, believing Russia is winning on the battlefield, writes our Russian editor Steve Rosenberg. Earlier on a visit to Ireland, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said that some things still need to be worked out in a draft peace plan, but that now more than ever there is a chance to end this war. Ukraine's military says fighting is ongoing in the key eastern city of Pokrovsk after the Kremlin claimed its forces had taken it. Best news.
Many thanks to Stephen Taludet for the news bulletin. Is a regular feature on News Point. If you're just joining us, you are listening to 45 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of our one word on today, Tuesday, December 2, 2025. My name is Oliver McIntosh, presenting on today's presentation of the program. In the headlines, President Joseph Boakai emphasizes his administration's unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and the fight against corruption. Former Vice President Joe Howard Taylor calls for increased support to women in politics across the sub-region, urges ECOWAS to take more targeted actions to advance female leadership. River G County Senator Jonathan Sengwe accuses the Ministry of Internal Affairs of unlawfully reducing the salaries of existing local government officials to create room for newly appointed personnel. And away from whom Russian President Vladimir Putin meets U.S. enforced Steve Witkoff in Moscow for talks of the draft peace plan, according to the BBC. Still ahead, the voices of our newsmakers post or package onto this presentation of the program. We'll go strictly into our development. President Joseph Boakai has emphasized his administration's unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and fighting corruption, describing these pillars as essential to the country's stability and progress. Speaking Tuesday, December 2, at a cabinet retreat in Tottenham Bomi County, President Boakai said every action taken by the government must contribute positively to national development. President Boakai noted that his administration has already demonstrated its seriousness in tackling corruption through recent government actions.
And I like to say this and very serious about it. Sometimes I wonder some people believe that they will have to do everything to be a part of the making of this country. But everything we do add to the making of the country. And I wish we knew even in the aim of opposition, we should wonder if you came and you were not given a chance to do anything. And the next person comes, if you were something, we do have a country. We don't have a country. So all of us will play our part in our respective area. And I want to appreciate everybody, whatever you do, even including our people who are not in government, who are doing good things for the country. We have to be very grateful to them. So a few things that happened in agriculture, the rice production is rising with nearly 15,000 hectares under cultivation. We like to highlight that because government restricting and the rule of law improved. We are not relenting in our fight against corruption. And I've already begun setting examples with our seriousness. A case in the law suspended any official to be resolved promptly and to those that have already resigned. Concerning audit, along with matter submitted to the LSC, we must address these without delay. And I'm saying without delay because sometimes these delays create other problems because people continue to talk about them and also they affect our progress. The national security has improved. We must continue.
Meanwhile, the Liberian leader outlined several areas on a review, including ongoing concerns surrounding a football academy in Ghana and Nigeria. He also pointed to persistent land-related challenges, recommending the relocation of the fire service and emphasizing the need to accelerate road construction to improve connectivity.
Some of the things that we are working on, and we have some commitment for a football academy in Ghana, in Nigeria promises. Some of the problems we have with land issues because everybody want to be in the on the road. People find out that opportunities are all over as long as the place later. So we are working on that to relocate the fire station on our Ashburn Street to have that fire department there. So we're looking for they should relocate. Here, the land people are looking around. We want to do that because we have to improve that area as well. I thought about road construction. We have some of the longest rainy seasons. So you start road construction 6 months, you have to wait. I thought the best thing to do is if it's 100, 150 miles, we don't give it to one contractor. And they two, three, so we can work together. If we don't do that, we'll be taking 6, 7 years to build a road. So I think about it. We have to let our partners know that we have to work with respect to what our country is. Look at the banana, the Congo, some are going to how many years? Apart from the technical delays and all of these, but the rain season itself doesn't give.
That's the voice of President Joseph Boakai that emphasizing his administration's unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and fighting corruption, describing these battles as essential to the country's stability and progress. Former Vice President George Howard Taylor is calling for increased support to women in politics across the sub-region, urging ECOWAS to take more targeted actions to advance female leadership. Speaking Tuesday during the ECOWAS Female Parliamentarians Association event in Abuja, Nigeria, Madam Howard Taylor said women across Africa continue to face significant barriers in accessing political power and sustaining leadership roles. She stressed the need for ECOWAS member states to build stronger leadership partnership for women, including inst- inst- that institutionalizing mentorship programs to help young women understand and develop leadership skills.
Though we celebrate 25 years, we all know that there are still many, many gaps in political participation across the world, more especially here on our working with the numbers of our our president, Senegal is very high in the 40s, Rwanda is in the 60s, so they're doing almost to the 30% mark, so they've done well, better than all of the ECOWAS region countries, but there is still much work. We can still face barriers in accessing political power, in influencing and getting legislation passed, and sustaining leadership roles. But as we look at 25 years, what are the issues? They are uneven legal frameworks. Even here, there's a minimum 30% requirement that each member of ECOWAS should send a minimum of 30% of women to the cabinet. Most countries have not fulfilled that obligation. Where there should be 2 men, you'll find that 5 men and maybe one. So even amongst ourselves, the laws and the rules that we have passed, we're not holding it. But it's a little bit difficult when the presidents appoint or when the legislature appoints people to come to represent. Here at ECOWAS, focus are not yet being actually done. I believe as we go towards the next 25 years, we should work hard to strengthen and harmonize gender parity legislation so that it becomes a mandatory requirement. This issue has to be raised from the ECOWAS parliamentarian level to the heads of states because in the end, they are the ones who are actually governing the state. And if they don't have a commitment to do it, then it's just no talk. We must build strong leadership pipelines for institutionalizing mentorship, partnering at all levels so our young women can actually get a chance to come in and get trained, get the necessary skills. And politics is a scientific game. How do we learn to play that scientific game? It's not about how I feel, it's about the numbers show. Women have to be shown how to calculate the numbers to make sure.
That's the voice of former Vice President Joe Howard Taylor. They're calling for increased support to women in politics across the sub-region, urging ECOWAS to take more targeted actions to advance female leadership. River G County Senator Jonathan Singway has accused the Ministry of Internal Affairs of unlawful reducing the salaries of existing local government officials to create room for newly appointed personnel. Speaking Tuesday, December 2, during the Senate regular sitting, Senator Singway argued that the reported payroll adjustment violate established employment procedures under the Civil Service Agency. Senator Singh described the alleged salary cuts as a clear breach of administrative policy and an infringement on the rights of officials who were legally employed.
I'd like to add the fact that I think it is unlawful. It is unlawful to use somebody else's salary to want to accommodate other people who are just coming into government. I think there are procedures that you go through to the CSA and other people getting your pay before your salary can be submitted to you. But to want to take existing commissioners' salary and reduce it only to accommodate other people, I think it's wrong. Pretty wrong. And our people are going through these things. Some people were simply replaced, and so they were already on salary. But don't use new people who came and got their letters to function in those very positions and stay back, are getting salary up to now. This is actually disturbing and troubling to some of us because we're getting this complaint all the time and all the time. I took my time, like I said in your communication. I wrote the Ministry of Internal Affairs. I sent my office staff to the Ministry of Internal Affairs. To date, nothing has happened. I think I want us to go one step further than just sending the communication to the Internal Affairs Committee. Let's invite the minister to come and explain why our people's salary has been reduced to accommodate our people. With that said, arrest.
That's the voice of River G County Senator Senator Singwede accusing the Ministry of Internal Affairs of unlawfully reducing the salaries of existing local government officials to create room for newly appointed personnel. The Solidarity and Trust for a New Day says its planned nationwide protest scheduled for December 17 is irreversible and will go ahead as announced, declaring that the nation will not be that the action rather will not be postponed or cancelled under any circumstances. Stand chairperson Moba Molu made a statement Tuesday, December 2, during a press conference at the organization's headquarters in Concotown. Molu stressed that the group is returning to the streets at the result of the government's alleged failure to address critical concerns outlined in their early petition, including the lack of basic social services, rising crime, and growing cases of police brutality.
As you are very much aware, we have announced on July 17 when thousands of Liberians converged on Capital Bypass to petition government surrounding issues of grievances, issues of valid concerns that pertain to the governance of the state, that pertain to absence of basic social services for our country, for our people, crime, rising crime across the constituencies of our country, from the leeward counties to urban areas, the increase in police brutality. The Bwakala government would have demonstrated responsibility to have the president come to receive the delivery of valid concerns of the citizens about the governance of the state. And we have promised the Liberian people that we will be back. And we are coming back to the streets of Liberia on December 17th to initiate a sustainable, non-violent resistance effort that has been named and labeled the Leave or Leave Enough is Enough protest. We are coming outside on December 17th in most capitals of different countries, especially in Montserrat on the 17th of December at the premises of the executive mansion to peacefully make demands that are consistent with the Constitution of the Republic that gives citizens the right, the constitutional obligation to require of their governance or their state actors the need to take proactive democratic actions of reform when their safety or their security so requires. The safety and security of Liberians at this time requires the need for a peaceful and not violent democratic revolution in Liberia. That revolution begins on December 17 and it is irreversible. And once it is initiated, it will not be cut off until Joseph Yimon Boakai will make the wise decision to listen to the demands of the people and commence a scrupulous process to implement all the demands that will be contained in our assembly on that day.
That's the voice of the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day. They're saying its planned nationwide protest scheduled for December 17 is irreversible and will go ahead as announced, declaring that that the action will not be postponed or canceled under any circumstances. Masrado County Senator Abraham Darius Dillon has clarified that the Liberian Senate is in no violation of the law by holding its own budget hearings separate from the House of Representatives. Speaking Tuesday at a press conference in Monrovia, Senator Dillon explained that while the legislature traditionally conducts joint budget hearings to speed up the approval process, there is no legal requirement mandating that both chambers must always hear the national budget together. Senator Dillon stressed that the Senate is operating fully within the bounds of legislative authority, rejecting accusation that the upper chamber's action constitute procedural violations.
The budget being a very new financial bill originate in the House, begin from, commences, starts from that process of, and then of course the Senate concurs if the Senate chooses to do so with what the House passed, or the Senate can. If the House was the only institution that should only hear the budget, deliberate on the budget, pass it before it comes to the Senate for concurrent or proposed amendments, why have we been doing joint budget hearing? We have been doing so to expedite the process so that by the time the, the joint committees send their reports to the two chambers, we can almost like pass the budget, together. Concurrence would not be a difficult or challenging thing. We have decided that we should hold Senate budget here while the House is also proceeding. The House commenced its budget hearing. Before we did the budget hearing, we had an understanding. The day the minister coming here, he will not come on his side. The day the other sector coming, so we will be dealing with the other sector. We are not responsible for people misunderstanding of the law. I just wanted to make it clear. The Senate is not in violation of the law. The CNC political leader like to be in the news. Sometimes like myself too, but he like to be in the news for the wrong reason. And all I know, he calls me around. Musa let the court let it go. The House has taken the Senate to court before on our decision to pass on a concession agreement, loan agreement, and the House challenged that it had the jurisdiction to pass that agreement first. And the matter went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that the Senate was not wrong. Let it go there. Honor President, we are in 2021. Those of you who are assigned, you know the history, you know the facts. They are dealing with that.
Senator Dillon emphasized that the nation budget as a financial bill constitutionally begins in the House of Representatives, which has originally jurisdiction over revenue measures.
The budget being a very new financial bill originate in the House, begin from, commences, starts from that process of, and then of course the Senate concurs if the Senate chooses to do so with what the House passed, or the Senate can propose amendments. That means the House does not have exclusive authority over. What the Senate cannot do before the House is to pass the budget before the House passes the budget. That is the meat of what is missing in all of these arguments. We thought to clarify, and sometimes too, you realize that all of you here, you are legislative reporters, you are in these chambers, you know these things. You have a duty not to us, but to the society to help correct by your knowledge and expertise. You've been here, it has been the law, it has been the practice, it has been the protocol that the budget does not, the draft budget does not only go to the House. The official communication addressing or submitting the budget to the House is also that copy, not carbon copy. The Speaker is addressed by the President submitting the budget through a formal communication for the House. At the same time, the president pro tempore is addressed by the president, formal communication, submitting the budget to the Senate, knowing that the House has original jurisdiction over the budget to pass it first. The processes leading to passing it first is not restricted to the House.
That's the voice of Monserrato County Senator Abraham Darius Dillon there clarifying that the Liberian Senate is in no violation of the law by holding its own budget hearings separate from the House of Representatives. The National AIDS Commission of Liberia has commended Liberians for embracing HIV testing exercises across the country following 2 years of low turnout. Speaking on a local radio on Monday, the Commission's head of communications, Gifty Clark, said the institution is overwhelmed and joyful over the strong participation of Liberians, especially young people who turn out in large numbers for beachside HIV testing events in Monrovia. Clark said the Commission's awareness messages are reaching communities nationwide, helping citizens understand the importance of knowing their HIV status.
They were interested to know that most of our young people who we met on the beach, they were eager to do the test. And of course, the results were so good. I mean, people are getting the messages, across. And even after we closed on the process, they were still flocking in to come and get tested. And that was so encouraging. And one of the best practices that we have gotten down is not to only wait for these kind of commemorative days to reach out to do voluntary testing and even do a lot more of awareness. So by 2026, we are going to take it differently at a different level where holidays, those kind of commemorative days where we have the young people and even older folks around that we can get there and do voluntary testing. And there are a lot more information that people need to know about HIV. There's a portion in the Bible that says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And we don't want our people to perish when it comes to HIV and AIDS information. So, of course, we are going to take it at another level. There's a proclamation, by the president that was issued on the 28th of November, committing his government's commitment and stronger weight to the HIV fight in our country. And, of course, he's asking all, there's no selection, all when it comes to international partners, national, local, civil society organizations, non-governmental agencies, just everybody, because the fight against HIV is a holistic one. And we cannot do it alone. It's not about President Baka, it's not about the AIDS Commission, but it's about Liberia. So we are.
That's the voice of the National AIDS Commission communication head Gifty Clark Dead commending Liberians for embracing HIV testing exercises across the country following 2 years of low turnout. As the government of Liberia celebrate the milestone of reaching the national budget to 1.21 billion, many has continued to raise issues about the actuality of achieving that goal in raising such revenue. To achieve this, the Liberia Revenue Authority has kicked off a week-long nation while planning exercise in an effort to meet its ambitious revenue target for fiscal year 2026. Our reporter Arena Kwepogi has been reading through the LRA's release and now reports.
In an effort to boost revenue generation, the Liberia Revenue Authority has kicked off a week-long nationwide planning exercise as it works toward meeting an ambitious revenue target of 1.2 billion US dollars for fiscal year 2026. The exercise officially launched Monday at the RLJ Kennedy Resort in Painesville, brings together work plan focal persons, senior and middle level managers, and supervisors from every division of the LRA. Organized by the Policy, Statistic, and Strategic Planning Division, along with the Human Resource Division and the Enterprises Development, Quality Assurance, and Risk Department, the initiative is designed to strengthen coordination, improve accountability, and streamline performance reporting across the institution. The planning week forms part of the LRA Corporate Strategic Plan for 2025 to 2029, which places coordinated enterprises planning at the center of its revenue mobilization strategy. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Assistant Commissioner of Human Resources Chupi Howie praised the planning team and stressed the need for structured and disciplined work processes. She said there is no way they can achieve their strategic objectives without a strong work plan that clearly outlines what they want to do, how they want to do it, and how they measure success. Madam Howie urged participants to take the session seriously, calling the exercise essential to building a stronger, better performing public institution. Also addressing attendees was acting manager for the PSSPD, Mohamed M. Jaliba, who highlighted the importance of robust planning in effective tax administration. He noted that improved systems will help the authority track performance, tackle operational challenges early, and stay focused on key revenue drivers needed to reach the fiscal year 2026 goal. Throughout the week, participants will engage in hands-on training to develop departmental work plans, set measurable performance indicators, and strengthen monitoring and reporting mechanisms. By weekend, staff members are expected to return to their units prepared to lead the fiscal year 2026 planning process, ensuring alignment between day-to-day operations and the LRA strategic priorities. For now, the LRA says the exercise is a crucial step toward boosting revenue performance and advancing institutional excellence. Reporting for Blaze News Point, I am Aruna Kwepogi.
That's the voice of our reporter Arena Kwipogate. Finally, from the newsstand this evening, the political leader of the Liberian National Union, Dr. Clarence Monumba, has intensified his criticism of the proposed 2026 national budget, which stands at US 1.2 billion. In an interview with reporters recently, Dr. Mobile warned that Liberia will remain trapped in poverty unless the government urgently shifts its spending priorities towards human development and economic transformation. According to him, 90% of the proposed budget is allocated to recurring expenditure, leaving only about 10% for capital projects, emphasizing that prioritizing government spending over investment in teachers, nurses, farmers, and security officers will hinder the nation's progress.
Today, we must confront an uncomfortable truth. After 178 years, our nation is still not working for the majority of its citizens. And the evidence is all around us. Look outside your window, walk the streets, visit our schools, or become a patient at one of our hospitals. The truth is there for all to see. For a country as rich as ours, we should not have people as poor as ours. But this happens when a nation's budget process rewards consumption over production and political comfort over national development. This must change. If a government is truly committed to rebuilding Liberia, then that commitment must be reflected in the national budget. It must prioritize sectors that build human capital, education, agriculture, healthcare, security. These are the pillars on which every successful nation stands. Imagine in Liberia, where every child can read, where every hospital heals the sick, where every farm feeds our people, and where every community lives in safety from criminals. That is the Liberia we must begin to build today. And more importantly, build together. And it is possible. Let us stop the mindset that Liberia can never change, that Liberia can never get better. It can and it will. If other nations can do it, then damn it, so can we. But with budgets that prioritize government over people, we will continue to remain way behind the other countries that are way behind. No country can grow when its youth are unskilled, unsupported, and unemployed.
That's the voice of the political leader of the Liberian National Union, Dr. Clarence Monumba, there intensifying his criticism of the proposed 2026 national budget, which stands at US 1.2 billion. With that, we come to the end of today's edition of News Point. It has been a production of the News and Current Affairs Department at the Blaze Communications Network Incorporated. Before we go, a recap of the major stories. President Joseph Boakai emphasized his administration's unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and the fight against corruption. Former Vice President Joe Howard Taylor calls for increased support to women in politics across the sub-region, urges ECOWAS to take more targeted actions to advance female leadership. River G County Senator Jonathan Singway accuses the Ministry of Internal Affairs of unlawfully reducing the salaries of existing government officials to create room for newly appointed personnel. Away from home, Russian President Vladimir Putin meets U.S. enforced Steve Witkoff in Moscow for talks on the draft peace plan, according to the BBC. Thanks to all of you for your listening room. Many thanks to Stephen Talo who was here with the news bulletin. Thanks to Kona Rufo, Sarah Control, and handle the technical aspect of the program. On behalf of the entire production team at the Blaze Communications Network Incorporated, Oliver McIntosh, I present it. Good evening. Bye bye.